Mario, and I'm with the Boston College Volunteer Reading Program. And we're doing some readings online because of the schools being closed because of the pandemic. So I have a story for you today. It's called The Marvelous Mouse Man. It's by Marianne Hoberman, illustrated by Laura Foreman. A little bit of glare on there. Now one small mouse is always sweet, with twitching nose and tiny feet. And if you meet one in the street, why nothing is more pleasant. And 2 or 3 are fine as well, if they should visit for a spell. Why, even 4 do not repel, whenever they are present. But when the welcome mat extends, and one by one they bring their friends, at some point, sir, your patience ends, and you become unhappy. And when no matter what you say, they simply will not go away, and soon have settled in to stay, your temper grows quite snappy. I tell you, sir, it was not nice. This town was soon aswarm with mice. You need not look but once or twice to see them frisk and frolic, till not a single store or house was uninvaded by a mouse. And every husband and his spouse was rendered melancholic. And that, sir, was what happened here. Whene'er you turned, a mouse was near, atop your head, behind your ear. Each time you put your hat on, you had to peer inside your cup, for fear that you might drink one up. And when you did sit down to sup, a mouse was often sat on. What shall we do? The townsfolk cried. In spite of everything we've tried, they've covered all the countryside. And still they keep on coming. Their manners are extremely rude. They don't show any gratitude. And yet they gobble up our food and clog up all the plumbing. It wasn't long before the fame of Mousy Town, its brand new name, had spread, and many strangers came to see the situation. And there before their very eyes, and far more numerous than flies, were mice of every shape and size, in every odd location. As into town the strangers poured, the mayor came out to greet the horde, and offer up a large reward to anyone so clever as to invent a new device, no matter what its kind or price, to rid the town of all its mice and banish them forever. Then from the crowd there stepped a man, and straight up to the mayor he ran. He said,
I have the very plan to solve your irksome worry. If you will hire me today, and pay the sum you say you'll pay, your mice will soon be far away.
I'll do it in a hurry.
My skill has gained me great renown, and so I go from town to town. And though I'd like to settle down in some nearby location, I've heard about your dreadful fix, and so I've brought my bag of tricks, from which I'll make the proper mix to ease your situation.
The man was very tall and thin, with wispy whiskers on his chin, and twinkling eyes and wrinkled skin, and hair of palest yellow. He wore a stovepipe hat of black, a crimson cape upon his back, and on his shoulder hung a sack. A most peculiar fellow.
Let's let him try, a voice cried out. We're in a pickle, there's no doubt. Hear, hear! There soon rose up a shout. Let's let the fellow try it. We haven't anything to lose.
nor any other plans to choose. And if this offer we refuse, we fear there'll be a riot."
But just before they paid his fee, the mayor spoke up. "Hold on," said he. "Although I do not wish to be a killjoy doubting Thomas, just hold your horses if you will, and let's not pay his bill until a demonstration of his skill proves he can keep his promise."
"Of course I'll prove it," said the man. "I'll gladly show you that I can."
And from his pack he took a fan and waved it all around them. And suddenly beneath each nose the most bewitching smell arose, the perfect perfume of a rose. The odor nearly drowned them. The mayor sniffed in out with bliss, each breath delicious as a kiss. He'd never seen a fan like this. It was a fine invention. "But though," he said, "the smell is nice, I do not find it worth the price, since why it will get rid of mice escapes my comprehension." The fellow answered in reply, "Most honored sir, I'll show you why." He took the fan and waved it high until a breeze was lifted, and suddenly throughout the space the smell was gone without a trace, and in a moment in its place another odor drifted. The mayor's wife wrinkled up her nose. "What is that smell, do you suppose? The more I sniff, the worse it grows. I fear it's getting stronger." "Dear madam," said the fellow, "please, I beg you put your mind at ease. Although this odor disagrees, it will not last much longer." And when the townsfolk in dismay began to cough and turn away, he cried, "Dear friends, I beg you stay. The odor cannot hurt you. And though I know the smell is vile, you just hold your noses for a while, and shut your mouths and do not smile, until your mice desert you." Meanwhile, through town and countryside, in every mousehole far and wide, wherever rodents did reside, the miracle was squeaked of. And all, however lame or stiff, ran out to catch a little sniff, to snatch at least a tiny whiff of what the region reeked of. Some said it smelled of brie from France, while others swore 'twas Liederkranz, or Gorgonzola ripe, perchance, or Stilton, Swiss, or Edam. But all agreed that they would do all that the man might ask them to, and they would follow in a queue wherever he might lead 'em. The townsfolk laughed, the children cheered, the mayor was sorry he had sneered, and all of his doubts disappeared. The chap was now their hero. With gratitude their spirits soared, though when they paid him his reward, much larger than they could afford, their bank accounts were zero. He took his fee and off they went, a most remarkable event. And ever fainter grew the scent, until at last it vanished. And all the people clapped and cheered, because the air at last was cleared, and all the mice had disappeared, forever to be banished. Oh, happy day! The mice were gone. They celebrated till the dawn. Then everyone began to yawn, and soon they all were sleeping. But in the darkness while they slept, out of their houses creatures crept. Along the silent streets they stepped, on padded paws went creeping. And when the people woke, they found their cats had left without a sound. Not even one was still around. They were without a feline, and when their dogs discovered that, they ran away in nothing flat. For what's a dog without a cat?
They took off in a beeline. The children then began to whine. Although a mouseless town is fine, at catless towns we draw the line, and dogless towns are awful. Without our pets we will not stay. We cannot live a single day. And so the children ran away, although it was not lawful. This put the townsfolk in a state, and one and all bemoaned their fate. Their hearts were sad, their sorrow great. How could their children leave them? But later when they understood, their children had gone off for good, they set off quickly as they could to find them and retrieve them. But when at last they found the crowd, the children all looked very proud and told their parents they had vowed to stick by their decision. We do not mean to be unkind. We hope and pray you do not mind, but we can't leave our pets behind without our supervision. Meanwhile, the chap who had begun the whole affair, the very one, was lounging in the noonday sun, the odor even stronger. And all around him danced the mice who'd cost the town so high a price, as if they lived in paradise and craved the town no longer. You've led our children far astray, and now they will not come away. It's all your fault. What do you say? The townsfolk all accused him. He looked them over for a while, then smiled a secret little smile, rather like a crocodile, as if they all amused him. My dearest friends, don't be absurd. Your mice are gone. I kept my word. They might have stayed if you preferred. I kept my bargain clearly. I understand your deep concern. You want your children to return. But as you see, your words they spurn. They love their pets so dearly. And since the children won't go back, as long as cats and dogs they lack, you'll have to try a different tack. Now let me lead you through it. To lure the dogs, the cats must part. To lure the cats, the mice must start. To lure the mice, now that's an art. No one but I can do it. The fellow waved his fan at that. The mice came running pit-a-pat, and after that came every cat, and all the dogs thereafter, and then the children 2 by 2 went marching down the avenue, exactly as he said they'd do, with merry peals of laughter. And last in line, their hearts like lead, the townsfolk trod with heavy tread, in dread of what lay up ahead. A second mouse invasion, and also floating in the breeze, they'd have as well the smell of cheese. The cure was worse than the disease. Oh, what a sad occasion. And when they finally reached their town, and all of them had settled down, their foreheads furrowed with a frown, and hot beneath their collars, the fellow told them if they'd pay, he'd take the mice and go away, while making sure the cats would stay. The price, $100. But sir, we've no more money now, the mayor explained with wrinkled brow. We'd pay you, but we don't know how. It was a great disaster. They had no way to meet the cost. With no more money, all was lost. The fellow's heart seemed cold as frost. He had become their master. But as he stood there tall and proud, observing the unhappy crowd, a piping voice spoke clear and loud. I've thought of a solution. I've thought of a solution. It was a little girl who spoke. They wondered if it was a joke. Or could she really save the folk and end their persecution? While we no money we can give, he hasn't got a place to live, and so I'm almost positive he'd pay us for a dwelling. And if we build it out of brick, and make the walls extremely thick, and if we build it double quick, it soon will stop the smelling. Her plan was good, they did agree. But first of all, they'd have to see if he would pay them back his fee to buy a place to live in. At first he said it wasn't fair. Why, he could live most anywhere without a house. He did not care. He did not want to give in. But when he started to recall, he hadn't had a home at all, or any place that he could call his own since he was teeny. And how he'd suffered from that lack, he took the money from his pack, and bowing low he paid them back, no longer such a meanie. The townsfolk worked around the clock and raised a structure block by block. The house was solid as a rock, and in it they installed him. And as the night began to fall, the mice arrived and filled the hall. They cheered the Mouse Man, one and all, for that is what they called him. And from that day to this, perhaps, as dogs awaken from their naps, the cats slip off their owners' laps, and off they all go gaily. The house is less than half a mile. The mice receive them with a smile, and though they only stay a while, they pay these visits daily. And sometimes when the winds increased and blows directly from the east, the townsfolk may detect the least delicious scent of roses. They know this is the Mouse Man's sign, inviting them to come and dine. And so they all march off in line, just following their noses. Hope you enjoyed that.